Alright, let's see if this will work. Alright, I got some questions and comments and stuff from all my fans and subscribers about the joints, wood and metal on the Coop, and why I did them the way I did them and stuff. So I'll talk through that a little bit. So I made the 3 triangles first. 1, 2, and then 3 on the back. Made those first. And those triangles have 3 screws, 1 at each corner holding them together. I pilot drilled each screw because I don't want the wood to split. 2x2s are really awesome lumber to work with, but they are 2x2s and I don't want them to break. And so I pilot drilled everything. That's a hole but not a screw from previous project. But that's a screw. So piloted it through, and then I think it's a 3-inch screw to get down in. And so there's 1 on each corner, 1 screw. And then the reinforcements are that 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood that I had left over from a different project. 4 screws to reinforce that joint, make sure it's not going anywhere. Did the same on all 3. So this triangle is very strong. So it'll take a lot of pressure on the corners and stuff. As far as putting the 3 triangles together, that I went back and forth on and chose to do it this way for a couple different reasons. I decided that I didn't want the triangles on the ground. Whatever's going to be touching the ground is going to be wet more. It's going to be interaction with organics more, and it will decompose and rot and wear and degrade faster. So I brought the triangles off the ground to help them last longer, and then I put the rails, 1 rail, 2 rail, those are touching the ground. And those are basically disposable. I've got 1 screw along the rail for each triangle, so 1, 2, 3 screws. And I suspect those rails will last maybe 2 years, and then I'll replace them as they wear from flex and water and whatever. And it won't take much. I'll just prop it up. I've actually already done this because the other side I'll show you. Anyway, prop it up, unscrew 3 times, 1, 2, 3, put on a new rail, 1, 2, 3, good to go. So that was intentional because I know that maintenance is a reality of my future, and I want to be able to maintain it quickly and maintain it well. The top, I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the top, if I wanted to do the top rail on the outside of the triangles or on the inside the way I did it. And the reason I did it on the inside was basically because I wanted the roof line of the hutch to come up and be protected on the rain and elements really well. And so I tucked this rail on the inside of the coop over here so that it would be out of the elements and hopefully protected. So the rail is secured with 1 screw right here on this triangle, and then this screw is for the triangle itself. So 1 screw for the rail. So all 3 rails, 1 rail, top rail, and another bottom rail, all 3 rails only have 1 screw going into each triangle. So not a lot of securement, and I did that on purpose because I do think it'll be strong enough to provide the support that I need, but not overkill on the hardware so that it's like splitting wood and stressing the wood and hardware and shearing screws and stuff. So that should be good. As it comes through on the top hutch, I just poked a hole through the plywood and sent the top rail through. This right here, this cross member, the diagonal, we call it the ladder, is not going through the wood. That is just butted up against right there, and I screwed it in from the other side into the plywood. It provides a lot of strength when I lift it on this end. So if I lift here, that wood meets really well the stresses and flexes of the coop, and you can see I notched it right there to help with that. It's also screwed in from the top. It does not provide strength if I was to, get a force down on this side or anything like that. It doesn't provide any real tension strength. It's really just compression strength, if I'm even saying that terminology right. But I did that on purpose to try and help everything stiffen up a little bit. All right, same thing over here. The triangles are on the inside of the coop, and I did put one screw in right here for that plywood to the triangle, but then on the inside, you can't see it, on the inside, the top rail is secured through the triangle into the side of the rail. So none of the rails are secured into the end of the rails. So there's no screws going into the ends of any of the rails, because that's just not how you fasten wood together. So didn't do that. The plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, it only has a few screws in it. I think 5 screws on each piece of plywood. So it's really not a lot, no overkill on the hardware, just enough to keep it in place. If I need to take it apart, I can do so fairly easily. All right, what else? 3 hinges on the door. Got a little clasp on the door, open and close. And this is so that it doesn't overswing into the coop. Rain cover for the feeder, and glued it together. And then I had to actually silicone some of these joints to keep the water out, because it wasn't a complete seal. It's drain pipe, so it's not the best sealant. I probably didn't get the right glue for it anyway. Let's see. So down here, this is just metal channel that is cupping that piece of wood from the bottom. I welded a strap from the metal channel up to the top that prevents it from twisting like this when the wheels engage. So when I press down on the wheels will push on the ground, and this axle will push up, and that channel wants to twist. And so that strap on this side helps it not twist and put stress on the wood. Because if that wood is twisting, if the metal's twisting, it's twisting the wood, and if the wood is twisting, that wood is not going to last very long. So that's how I tried to reduce the twist and stress on that wood. And then this piece again is so that the metal, as it flips around, the metal that is holding the wheel out has something to rest against that is not resting against wood. Otherwise it will quickly wear out. It'll compress and wear out that wood. And then I just zipped it in with a little zip screw right here so it doesn't move around. It stays in place. I think that's probably it. And basically everything that I used to construct this was stuff that I just had laying around from previous projects. These are 3/4 20 bolts that are going through with T-nuts on the opposite side, so it's really strong coming down, so it'll hold the weight just fine. But the thing that I don't like about this that I'll do different next time is that 5-gallon bucket will actually pivot around that a little bit. So there's a little bit of movement there that I don't really like. So I would have a better brace on the sides of the bucket so that it didn't do that. I also don't like that the hinge point for it is really low. I would like to have something that either secures it to the rod up higher, or maybe even a hook that comes from the top that holds the lip of the lid up against and takes the weight off of this lower pivot point. Because right now it's secured right there by the tape, metal tape, and it's resting on this bottom bracket. So the weight rests, and then the pivot point is up here for the center of gravity that's hanging on that rod. So don't really like how that turned out, but that's the way it's going to be for now. All right, what else? Maybe this isn't as visible as I think it is, but this channel that I put on the wood has a tube that's welded to it, an old bike frame tube. And then this is a iron pipe that is the axle that starts here, goes through the tube, and has these forks welded to it. And then the axle continues all the way across to the other side where it has the exact same setup. And that's extremely important because a lot of people were building these where they didn't have an axle all the way across, a shaft all the way across. And what that does is it creates a handle on each side. And when it has a handle on each side, it's really hard to make sure that you have basically a double shear joint for your wheels. You got to have at least a double shear joint for your wheels. If you have single shear, if you have only one of these rods on one side, then your wheels are not going to last. They're going to break. So you have to have a fork, a double shear on each side, one on each side, so that those wheels will last a long time. So you have to have that. And if you don't have the shaft going all the way across, then you'll have a handle on each side, which isn't that big a deal, except now you've got this radial pressure that's being put on whatever your joint is. So if this shaft or pipe was cut off right here, then I'd have pull up on this handle, that wheel would press into the ground, and it would lift up on that joint, but it would want to twist this way. The wheel and the whole mechanism would want to twist up, which you could figure out how to mitigate that by bracing it, fastening it into the wood differently, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But again, this is wood and it's pretty heavy, so I don't want my wood to wear out too fast. So the easiest solution was to put a shaft or a pipe all the way across so that the wheels, that whole setup doesn't want to twist on the wood. All it does is it wants to twist around the wood that way. I don't know if I'm describing that very well. Anyway, that's why I went all the way across, and it's working great. Other setups online, you can see them when they pull up on their handles, the wheels will want to pivot, twist out one way or the other, and it just doesn't work very well. It's lame. All right, what else? Let's see if we can get some action on that. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it works well. All right, I think that's probably it. Wheels don't have any bearings. It's just a little shaft that goes through the middle of the wheel, and it's pinned on the outside, so hopefully the shaft is not spinning on my metal tube there, my square metal tube that comes out. I want the wheels to spin, not the shaft itself. So the wheels to spin on the shaft, not the shaft to spin on the bracket. This is my dust box that I haven't finished yet, haven't figured it out. I'm going to make the hole bigger, but I wanted a way to easily maintain it, so I got this little spring system so that I can unhook that. Box falls down. I can reach in and pull the box out to maintain it, change it, whatever. And then when I want to put it back, I put it in. It's hard to do with one hand. And then I can hold it there, or go ahead, right? Put it on. And then pull the spring down, and it will set into the lip of the box, and then we'll hold it there. Just kind of pinches it in place. So that worked out pretty well. All right. We'll see you guys later.